from Tehran. He is the Secretary General of Asian Mayors Forum and a political analyst. Mr. Hamid Reza, thank you so much for joining us. US President Joe Biden is hopeful that Iran will stand down and not intensify the conflict. He says he hopes so, and he's not sure. After Haniyeh's death in Tehran, do you anticipate Iranian attack on Israel like the one we saw back in April, or something more severe?
Thank you very much for having me. You know, what President Biden said was wishful thinking, and it seems that he has not realized the depth of this grave mistake that the Zionist regime has taken, actually, by killing Mr. Haniyeh inside Tehran. So it was passing and crossing several red lines that the Zionist regime did. So the revenge and the retaliation is a necessity, and it's a must that would happen for sure. The timing could be different, the way could be different, but the happening of the revenge is something that is a must and is certain. Because first of all, Mr. Haniyeh was a guest to Tehran, and based on the Islamic teachings and Iranian culture, respecting the guest and protecting the guest, and now taking revenge for the guest, it's a necessity, it's a must, and it's a duty that the Iranians cannot ignore that easily. Even if the political issues and military issues are put aside, this religious task and duty is something that Iranians cannot ignore at all. But about the level and the type of the response, I would expect that it would be something certainly stronger than the previous one, and it could be different from the other one. And it is expected that it would be multi-front, we can say. So
a multi-frontal attack, Dr. Hamid Reza, is what you're suggesting, and it will be more severe than the one seen back in April, and it is Iran's duty to now retaliate and respond, and you also said revenge is a necessity. Dr. Hamid, I just want to now get your thoughts on this. In one of my earlier conversations with a retired colonel from the US forces who has been deployed across West Asia for several decades, he seemed sure that Iran will not get involved directly with Israel and will continue the fight with regional players or with proxies. What are your thoughts in the matter? Because since 1985, Israel and Iran have pretty much had a proxy war. Do you feel there will be a direct confrontation now?
Maybe we can say in the past it was a proxy war, but now I do not consider it a proxy war. You know, right now we are talking about the network of groups that are working in coordination with one another. So the groups that they consider a proxy of Iran are actually members of that network. The difference is that when you call them proxies, it means that they are taking and receiving orders from Iran, but it is not like that. The group in Yemen, in Hezbollah in Lebanon, the groups in Iraq, in Syria, in different places, they are acting independently, and they are not actually abiding by whatever the Iranians tell them. So they cannot be considered as proxies. They are network members, and in this network, the heart of which is Iran as the strongest member, are working on the same line, and they are working in favor of the same cause. So they share the enemy, they share the cause, but they are working independently. And that's actually what Iran wants for the countries. Iran doesn't want to rule over its neighboring countries. Iran wants them independent from the outsiders, and there is no need to be dependent on Iran. That has been the policy that Iran has for long told the other Arab countries in the Persian Gulf too. So if they are independent, that would be enough for Iran, and that would be serving the interests of the whole region. So this network has been attacked by Israel. Just to finish that, the network has been attacked by Israel within about 2 days. One of them was assassination of Mr. Haniyeh. We had assassination of Fuad Shukr that you mentioned as well. We had attacks in Iraq. We had attacks in Yemen. And we had also a failed terror attack in Sudan as well. So when you attack the network would respond to the whole attacks that they have carried out. Please.
I hear you, Dr. Hamid Reza. So you are drawing a distinction between the proxy forces of Iran and network members, of which Iran is the strongest member of this network. And I wanted to understand from you, as of now, given the way things are on the boil and the entire West Asian region could be thrown into a state of complete war, what is Iran's cause that you speak of at this point? And what kind of a retaliation would that, what kind of a consequences are we expecting of an Iranian retaliation which will be directly aimed at Israel, as I'm assuming from your responses?
You know, my analysis and my assumption is that Iran needs to get the response, not from Iran. The response from the network needs to be something military attack, and it should be direct attack against the Zionist regime. The point is that the Israelis are unable to fight in a military war. We have seen for 10 months in Gaza Strip that they failed to fight against Hamas fighters. Instead of that, they just adhere to killing women and children in tens of thousands, and they just dropped bombs on Gaza, and they avoided a direct fight against the Hamas fighters. And they adhered also to intelligence efforts like the terror attacks that they have carried out in several numbers. So their strength is in intelligence because the Americans can help them in that regard. But their weakness is in military area where the Americans cannot help them seriously, because the Americans are strongly avoiding having boots on the ground in this region because they did a lot to leave the region, leave Iraq and leave Afghanistan after the 2 decades of failure that they had. So they are strongly trying not to get involved directly, the Americans. So if it is military, the Americans cannot support directly and completely, and the Israelis are not able to defend it completely. So I don't think that if this response would be given, there would be a full-fledged war, because the Israelis are unable to do that. And the Americans, even if they want to get involved, they are unable to fight a full war here in the region, because they have already tried in the past, and it was 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, and such groups were not that strong as they are right now. So the Americans, even if they get involved, they are unable to control the situation.
I hear you, Dr. Hamid Reza. Thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts with us. Of course, things are on the boil, and here's only hoping that things settle down before they simmer beyond a point of any kind of return. Thank you so much for joining it. That was Dr. Hamid Reza.
Thank you for
joining us from Tehran.